And today we're making pappardelle ai funghi, mushroom pappardelle. It's going to be fantastic. And tonight we're going to make one of those classic autumn recipes. We got some wonderful mushrooms, we're going to make some homemade pappardelle, and the whole thing is going to marry each other into a fantastic plate. In this recipe we're going to give it a bit of a Tuscan twist. We're going to make pappardelle, which are wider noodles. We're going to have the aglione della Val di Chiana, which is a specialty garlic from Tuscany. And we're going to use Tuscan sausage. But let's go through the ingredients. We're going to have 5 types of mushroom. We're going to have some oyster mushroom, we're going to have some king oyster mushrooms, some shiitake mushroom, normal chestnut, dried porcini mushroom. These things are a godsend when you don't have fresh porcini. And for the pappardelle, of course, we just need eggs and flour. And to bring all this together, we're going to have our Tuscan sausage, some fantastic extra virgin olive oil, salt and pepper. The ratios for fresh pasta is 100 grams of flour per egg. So today, 200 grams, 2 eggs. Once we got a pile, we make a well in the middle and we break our 2 eggs. Try to do a better job than this, and you can start with a fork to mix things up. I must admit, this should have gone a little bit smoother, but we'll save it. Once it starts coming together, you can just move on to using your hands. At this point, it's going to feel a little bit dry in relation to all the flour that you got, and the key here is to persist. And that's because your ratio of wet to dry is actually right. Potentially you may have to wet your hand to just add a little bit extra moisture, but ultimately you got the right amount. So keep working at it and you'll see that it's going to all merge together really nicely. Also, a bench scraper, it really is your friend here. Allows you to pick up all these bits that get stuck to your board. What you're going for is a smooth consistency. You need to work the dough for a good 5 minutes. You need to make sure that the flour is nice and hydrated. If you feel that the dough needs a little bit more moisture, which in this case is pretty much borderline, the only thing you do is wet your hand a little bit and carry on working it. This will give it just a little bit of extra hydration to get to the perfect consistency you're going for. And after about 7 to 8 minutes, you're left over with a nice smooth dough, and this needs to rest. So into the cling film, and then we wrap it up real tight. We don't want any air left in this, so nice and tight. Give it a twist, and this goes in the fridge for half an hour. And with the pasta dough resting for half an hour, gives us exactly the time we need to make our sauce. And we're gonna cook this sauce in 2 different stages. First the meat, then the mushrooms, because they cook at different temperature, they cook at different length, and if you put everything together, you're just gonna get a big mush, which is not what we want. So first of all, we're gonna start with some mince. This is Italian sausage mince. It's Tuscan style, so it's got a little bit of garlic, but apart from that, it doesn't have any other spices. So here at this point, if you like, you can add some thyme, you can have some sage, you can add whatever you want. We're not gonna do it, we're gonna keep it authentic, and we're gonna infuse it with garlic. This one is called elephant garlic, and it comes from an area called Val di Chiana in Tuscany, you know, where they make all the nice Chianti and all the things. Just to put things into perspective, elephant garlic, normal garlic. I mean, you see why this is an elephant, right? So we start with that. This is just a part of the clove. The only thing we need to do here, just make it into little dice. And the great thing about the elephant garlic is that it's a lot easier to digest. The flavor is a lot more delicate, and you're not gonna have that stinky garlic breath afterwards. So this is perfect for a date night. Garlic on the wok, some extra virgin olive oil. Not too much because the meat is gonna release some of its fat. We give this a couple of minutes so the oil gets infused with the garlic. Throw in some parsley stems. We're gonna remove them afterwards, of course, but this is gonna release a lot of the flavor into the oil. And at this point, the meat goes in. This one we're gonna keep it on low heat, and we're gonna let this go for about 20 minutes. We want all the fat to render down, give flavor, and we also want a little bit of caramelization of the meat, which adds a ton of flavor to the dish. For the preparation of the mushrooms, the dry porcini mushrooms, this is a staple that you should always have in the house because it can turn a dish around and stay good for super long time. So the way to use them is you take some hot water and they go in. You leave them here while you prepare everything else. This is going to do two things. It is going to, of course, hydrate back the mushrooms. And the other thing it does is that it creates this stock. You can see it's already getting darker, and we're going to use this water both to flavor the pappardelle when we cook them, but also to flavor the sauce as it gets prepared, and it's going to be amazing. So a little bit of a whirl. Patience, we leave them here. For the mushroom, we have quite a bit of a variety. Oyster mushroom, I find them really nice and meaty. What you want to do is just coarsely chop them. And they may look like a lot of mushrooms, but mushrooms do shrink quite a bit as you cook them. King oysters, we're only going to use the top because the bottom I have a different idea for another dish. Shiitake also have some really nice deep flavor. If the bottom is a little bit tired, so we take them out. And the rest just coarsely chopped. And the last one are the chestnut. These are your bread and butter mushrooms. I don't find them particularly exciting, but when mixed up with all these wonderful mushrooms, then, you know, they do their bit. Quick chop all over. And yes, this seems like a lot of mushroom, but they'll shrink and it'll be totally fine. We're cooking for 4 people today, remember. At this point, we can remove the parsley stems. They've given us the flavor. And check out this beautiful caramelization on the sausages. And this thing at the bottom of the pan, this is something we want. Once they have this lovely caramelization, this is the time to take it off. So now we got a sausage on the side and we got the pan with a lovely crust at the bottom. Here we put all the mushrooms. And washing the pan would be a huge mistake. The mushrooms now are going to release a lot of the liquids, and with that liquid we're going to deglaze the bottom of the pan. And with that, all the flavor from the sausages is going to mix up with the flavor of mushrooms. A little bit of salt now, that's going to help release some of the water. Turning the heating up. And we want the heat high because yes, we want it to release the water, we want it to help the glazing, but at the same time, we don't want to boil the mushroom. That's gonna make it really disgusting. At this point, we just add just a little bit of our stock. Some more parsley stems. And this is once again a really good time to add some of the herbs if you wanna add a little bit of sage, thyme, or whatever you like. And of course, a little bit of chili as well, spices of life. These are some dried chilies I did this summer. And I dried them in pretty much the same way I did my sun-dried tomato recipe, on the sun, 3 days, and then you can use them for the rest of the year. And see, this is all the water that is coming out of the mushroom. You can already see they're kind of halved in size. Keep the heat high. Once all the water is evaporated, again, we remove the parsley stems. You want the mushroom to start getting some crust as well, because that's all flavor you're adding to the sauce. At this point, a little bit more of the water. We drain the Porcini mushroom, so they go in, and the liquid, we keep it aside. We add our sausage. Quick mix. Lowest heat for about 5-10 minutes. Some flour on the countertop. I'm gonna start off with half of it. The other half you keep it close so it doesn't get dry. So with this machine you start from the biggest setting and you go all the way down to the thickness that you want. First slice, you just double fold it again. Other way around, and you make it go through again. This is your starting point, and now we carry on with this. Make sure the sheet is floured so it doesn't stick. The length of the sheet is of course the length of your tagliatelle or pappardelle. So at this point we are in setting number 5. I'm just going to cut it in half. Bit of flour on this one so it doesn't stick. We're just going to fold it and we're going to continue with this other piece. Once you have your really nice long sheet, just a lot of dusting. And make sure this doesn't stick. Then what you do is that you fold it over all the way to the middle. To the middle, and again to the middle, to the middle. And you repeat it as long as your thing is thick. Now the edges can be a little bit ugly, so we can just take this off. We can just mix this together afterwards. Now don't pinch, just cut. Thickness you like, so we said we're gonna make them quite thick. Done. And then once you have them cut, you can put a knife in the middle and they all open up. And we can just put it in a little nest. All the way to the middle, flip it, flip it. Nice and tidy. Sewing motion. And while of course you try to make them all look the same, the beautiful thing about cutting them by knife is that everything is a little bit different. And I find that for a dish like today's, that reminds me of just countryside and casual eating, I think it's just wonderful. Now let's boil the water for the pasta. Here we have normal water, plus we're gonna add this stock. And what's gonna happen is when we put the pappardelle, they're gonna start cooking, absorbing this mushroom stock, and they're gonna taste wonderful. Some fresh parsley, and we're gonna add a little bit now and a little bit at the end. We have 2 minutes cooked here. And now we're going to transfer them to the wok. We're going to add a little bit of our stock water. And we give it a good mix. We slowly add a little bit more water, and this will create a lovely creaminess. And because today's a party, we're gonna serve it in a serving tray. Let's give this a little taste. Let's get some sausage, some mushroom. Oh, I love these autumn dishes. They really warm you up inside. It's wonderful to look at. It tastes even better. Go ahead and do it. Buon appetito.